Welcome. Good morning.
今天我们
Today,
邀请到
we're glad to be
海关
joined
总署
by
新闻发言
Mr.
人、
Liu Daliang,
统计分析司司长
spokesperson of the
吕
General
大良先
Administration
生
of Customs and Director
请
General
他
of
为大
the
家介绍
Department of Statistics
2023
Analysis of
上
the
半年进
GACC.
出口情况。
He will share
并
with
回答
us
大家
China's
感
import
兴
and
趣的问题。
export of the first half of
下面我们
2023
先请吕
and
大良
answer
司
your
长
questions.
做介
Now
绍
I'll give the floor to Mr. Liu. Thank you.
谢谢主持人，
Thank you.
女士们、先生们、
Ladies and
各位
gentlemen,
记者朋友们，
friends from
大
media,
家上午好！
good morning.
欢迎大家冒雨出席今天的新
Welcome
闻
to
发布会
today's press
很
conference.
高兴又和大
It's a
家
great
见面。
pleasure to meet you again.
我先通报一下今年
I'll
上半
begin
年
by
我国外贸
introducing
进出口情况，
China's foreign trade
之后呢，再回
performance
答
in the
大
first
家
half this
感兴
year,
趣的问题。
and then take your questions.
今年上半年，
In
面
the
对
first half
复
this
杂
year,
严峻的外部
facing
环境，
complicated
在
external
以习近平
environment,
同志为核心
under
的
the
党
strong
中央
leadership
坚强
of
领
the
导下，
CPC Central Committee with
我国
Comrade Xi
坚持
Jinping at its
稳中
core,
求进，
China
工作主
strive
基
for
调，
progress
高
while
质量
maintaining
发展，
stability
稳步推
and
进，
advanced high
经
quality
济运行
development
整体
steadily.
的
Our
回升
economy
向好，
overall picked
外
up,
贸进出
foreign
口
trade
稳中
was
提质，
stabilized and improved
符合预期。
as expected.
据海关统计，
According to
上
the
半年我
GACC,
国货物贸易进
in
出
the
口
first
总
half,
值
China's trade in goods
20.1万亿元
totaled
人民币，
20.1 trillion
同
yuan,
比
up
增长
by
2.1%， 其
2.1%
中
year on
出
year.
口
Export
11.46
was
万亿元，
11.46
同
trillion
比
yuan,
增长
up
3.7%，
by 3.7% year on year.
8.64
Import was 8.64 trillion yuan, down by 0.1% year on
主要
year.
有以下5个
Specifically,
方面
there
的
were
特
5
点：
main features.
一是外贸规
First,
模稳中有
Foreign
进，
trade volume got stable
上半
growth.
年
In the
我
first
国外
half
贸进
this
出口
year,
规模在历史同期
China's foreign
首
trade
次突
volume
破20万
exceeded
亿元，
20 trillion
其中
yuan,
一季度、
registering a record
二季
high.
度分
The
别达
numbers
到
for Q1 and
9.76
Q2
万亿
were
和
respectively
10.34万亿元，
9.76 trillion yuan
同
and
比均
10.34
实
trillion
现
yuan,
正增长。
both increased year on
从
year.
环比来看，二季度进出口
The trade
比
in
一季度
Q2
增长6%，
increased by 6% compared
5月
with the
份
previous
均
quarter.
环比增长
We
1.2%。
saw 1.2% increase
二是
month on
民营
month
企
both
业
in
进
May
出
and
口
in
规模
June.
不
Second,
断
the
壮
trade
大。
volume of private
上半年
enterprises continued to
我
grow.
国民
In
营
the
企
first
业
half
进出
this
口
year, the foreign trade
10.59万亿
volume
元，
of private enterprises
同比增
totaled
长
10.59 trillion yuan, up by
占进出口总值的
8.9% year on year, accounting
52.7%，
for
同比提升
52.7% of the total
3.3个
value,
百分点。
up by 3.3 percentage points year on year. In the same
6.16万亿元，
period,
国有企
foreign
业进出
invested
口
enterprises
3.29万亿元，
6.16 trillion
分别
yuan,
占
down
进出口总值的
SOEs
30.7%和 16.4%。
3.29 trillion yuan, accounting for 30.7%
对
and
一带一路进出口增速明显高
16.4%
于整体。
respectively. Thus, the growth rate
上半
of foreign
年
trade with
我
Belt
国
and
对
Road
第
countries
一
was
大贸易伙
obviously
伴
higher
东
than the
盟
overall
进出
level.
口
In the
3.08
first half
万亿元，
this year, China's
同比增
trade
长
with its
1.4%
largest trading partner ASEAN
占
totaled
进出口总值的
3.08 trillion yuan, up by 5.4% year on year, accounting for 15.3% of the total value. Trade with the EU 2.75 trillion yuan, up by 1.9%, accounting for 13.7%. Trade with the US totaled 2.25 trillion yuan, down by 8.4%, accounting for 11.2%. In the same period, China's trade with Belt and Road partners increased by 9.8%, 7.7 percentage points higher than the overall growth rate, accounting for 34.3%, up by 2.4 percentage points year on year. Trade with other RCEP members increased by 1.5%. Fourth, exports of mechanical and electrical products enjoyed a bigger share. In the first half this year, their exports totaled 6.66 trillion yuan, up by 6.3%, accounting for 58.2% of the total exports, 1.4 percentage points higher year on year. Exports of electrical equipment, auto and auto parts, general machinery, respectively totaled about 636 billion, 621 billion, 200 billion yuan, respectively, up by 27.7%, 58.5%, 12.2%, In the same period, exports of labor-intensive products totaled 1.97 trillion yuan, up by 0.04%. Exports of garments and clothing, accessories, plastic products, shoes and boots totaled about 517 billion, 343 billion, 173 billion yuan, up by 0.7%, 3.2%, 0.4% respectively. Fifth, exports of commodities and consumer goods grew rapidly. In the first half this year, China's exports of commodities like energy, ore, sand, and food increased by 17.1% year-on-year. Exports of energy products like crude oil, natural gas, and coal totaled 561 million tons, up by 33.2%. Metal ores totaled 710 million, up by 8.3%. Exports of consumer goods totaled about 975 billion yuan, up by 6.6%. Exports of meats and edible aquatic products increased by 9.5% and 30% respectively. In general, in the first half, China's foreign trade volume made breakthroughs, its structure was optimized, and showed great resilience. Now, world economy is sluggish. Global trade and investment are slowing down. Unilateralism, protectionism, and geopolitics are rising. Weakening external demand is still influencing our foreign trade directly. But we should also see China's economy enjoys great resilience, potential, and vitality. The fundamentals of long-term growth remain unchanged. We believe more practical and effective measures will pay off. Business entities will be more vigorous. We will definitely stabilize and improve our foreign trade. Going forward, customs will be guided by Xi Jinping's thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era. Fully studied the guiding principles of the 20th CPC National Congress, firmly implemented decisions and arrangements of the CPC Central Committee and the State Council, fully and faithfully implement the new development philosophy, carry out the thematic education, speed up the construction of smart customs, continue to stabilize the scale, optimize the structure of foreign trade, safeguard the border, promote development, foster a new development paradigm, advance high-quality development, and make contributions to advancing Chinese modernization. And now I would like to take your questions. The floor is open to questions. Please announce your affiliation before raising questions.
With CCTV, you shared with us the foreign trade in H1. And what is your assessment and evaluation of the H1 performance? Any new highlights or positive changes? And what is your forecast for H2? Thank you. Thank you for your question. In H1, faced with the sluggish world economic recovery, major developed economies have tightened their policy and caused a spillover effect. There are destabilizing, uncertain, and factors beyond prediction in the international market. Under the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, China's economy has improved, and foreign trade withstood the pressure, maintained its scale, and improved its quality. We have met the expectation in foreign trade, which could be seen in the following three aspects. First, stronger vitality. In H1, there have been 540,000 companies involved in foreign trade, an increase of 6.9% year-on-year, in which MSMEs play a dominant role. They're more active, apparently, in foreign trade. At the same time, private sectors remains the main driving force for foreign trade growth. And the growth of private sector was 6.8 percentage points faster than the average level, driving the overall growth by 4.4 percentage point. Second, improved structure. The common trade with longer industrial chains and higher added value grew faster than the overall level, and their share in the overall foreign trade increased by 1.2 percentage point to 65.5%. In original layout, the Midwestern region and the three provinces in northeastern China opened faster. In H1, their foreign trade increased by 2.8% and 4.5% respectively. Putting together, the two parts account for 21% of the overall foreign trade, so the regional development has been more balanced. Third, significant driving force. While there's still pressure in foreign trade, we have expanded our high-level opening up platform, nurture new growth area for growth and competitive industries, and making great efforts in emerging markets. In H1, our foreign trade with Belt and Road countries increased by double-digit growth and accounting for 34.3% in our overall foreign trade with other countries. And our foreign trade with Latin America increased by 7%, with Africa increased by 10.5%. We have more diverse international market partner, and our foreign trade in free trade pilot zone increased by 8.6%, in Hainan free trade port increased by 26.4%. The overall export of EVs, lithium battery, and solar cell increased altogether by 61.6%, driving the overall export up by 1.8 percentage point. So the green industry has strong vitality. For H2, despite the pressure, we are confident. The major developed economy still runs high inflation. Geopolitical conflict sustains, and in the short term, we see insufficient external demand. So there's still great pressure on China's foreign trade to stabilize growth. That said, China's economy remains positive in the long term and enjoys strong resilience and potential. As our policies play out, we are confident that we have the foundation and condition to stabilize our foreign trade and improve the quality of foreign trade. Thank you. Next question, please.
中间第一排这位。
With China News Agency, we noticed that the recent 2 months, there is a negative growth in export. How do you see this change? Thank you very much. We also notice that the public is following closely the changes in China's foreign trade on a year-on-year basis, and there are some worries online. But for this question, we think that China's foreign trade has been stable. It might be slower on a year-on-year basis, but if we compare with the previous surveyed period, we still see steady progress. For example, the Q2, there was growth compared with Q1, and the recent 2 months also grow compared on a monthly basis. And the steady growth could also be seen in the following aspects. First, the size keeps growing at a significant pace. In Q1, the foreign trade has kept growing, registering a 20.1 trillion yuan of new high. This is the first time and a landmark breakthrough in history. This achievement was achieved against the challenging external environment and the sluggish global trade investment. And also, it was achieved against the background that the one-off driving factors such as COVID supplies and stay-at-home economy disappeared. So it is not an easy task. In H1, the foreign trade increased by 400 billion yuan. It is equivalent to the total export output of last year's automobile of over 300 million, over 3 million automobile export last year. Second, statistics keep growing at a steady pace. We all know that price and quantity are two major factors affecting the scale of trade. In Q1, the import and export of China witnessed a decline compared with last year. But in Q2, the numbers have rebounded to positive growth. And in Q2, the import grew by 5.9% and export grew by 2%. The import, like the import of energy product or the export of automobile, all grew at a double-digit growth. So the quantity of trade, the increase of the quantity of trade has mobilized the increase of trade scale, which means that China's growth is in real terms, and the foundation has been more consolidated. Third, China's share in global trade maintains strength with growing market share. The WTO forecasted that this year the global trading goods will grow by 1.7%, apparently an apparent decline from the 2.6% in the past 12 years. So the sluggish trade growth is a common challenge faced by all economies. And compared with other neighboring economies which already released their data, China's foreign trade has demonstrated strong resilience and consolidated competitive edge. According to the latest statistics released by WTO, in the first 4 months of this year, China's exported products enjoyed a growing market share, which testified to the growing competitiveness of China's foreign trade products. But as I said, there's still pressure on China's foreign trade. The foreign trade of China may experience fluctuations and challenges, but we're confident that we'll meet our goal. The positive fundamental remains unchanged in China's economy, adding to China's complete industrial system and production capacity. Foreign trade still enjoys strong resilience and a huge room of maneuver. At the same time, China is committed to advancing reform and opening up, and advancing international cooperation on economy and trade. We have introduced a host of policy measures to stabilize foreign trade, which all of which are strong support for China's efforts to stabilize foreign trade and improve and maintain the improved structure of foreign trade. And we are confident that we'll continue to be the world's largest trader in goods. Thank you. Next question, please. Southern Daily. In June, the JCC introduced 6 measures to improve the business environment. Now, a month has passed. Can you share with us the progress of the policy implementation? Are there be further measures to stabilize the scale and the structure of foreign trade? Thank you. Thank you for your question. Since the beginning of this year, the JCC has firmly implemented the decisions and plans of the CPC Central Committee and the State Council to stabilize trade and stabilize scale and structure of foreign trade. And last month, we introduced 6 measures to improve the business environment, to further stabilize social expectation and boost the strength of development of foreign trade. We know that if we want to achieve our goal, the key is to stabilize the market entities in foreign trade. So we hope that the 16 measures will help better facilitate foreign trade, increase vitality, improve service, and reduce cost. To help companies stabilize the market and reduce their cost. And we have hosted a press briefing recently to let the markets know what the policies are. In the past month, we have followed through our policy measures to make the policies more beneficial to the companies. Local customs across China have introduced detailed measures to follow through on the 16 major policies. For example, in Qingdao, the customs introduced 30 further follow-up measures to improve and upgrade industries and help companies to overcome difficulties. And the customs in Guangzhou introduced 20 detailed measures in 5 aspects to boost logistics, boost import and export of foreign trade companies, better facilitate cross-border trade, help companies reduce burden, improve effectiveness, and help the companies achieve innovative development. The Nanjing Customs introduced 26 detailed measures to help companies overcome their difficulties, improve their technical cooperation, and provide tailored AEO services and guidance, and give them better education campaign on IP protection. And as our policies continue to be implemented, the dividends of policies will be gradually enjoyed by companies, like the tax e-payment of cross-border e-commerce are carried out in Shanghai, Chengdu, and Chongqing. And the high-tech goods, the customs clearance for high-tech goods with vacuum packaging and other methods are fully promoted across China. In Beijing, the goods will only the clearance of goods will only take about 6 hours from the port of entry to the factory. And in Nanchang, through their detailed measure, every container would save about 100 yuan logistics fee, and the transit waiting time would be reduced by at least 1 or 2 days. And in Shantou, the customs has taken the initiative to work with major petrochemical companies to provide advanced clearance service for them to reduce the service time from days to hours. And looking ahead, we'll continue to further carry out the 16 measures and other follow-up actions to improve our facilitating measures and closely follow the outcomes and progress as the policies continue to play out. And as the foreign trade develops, we'll continue to introduce more measures to further stabilize the scale and structure of foreign trade. Thank you. Next question, please. With CNBC, 2 questions. So what is the trade of cross-border e-commerce in Q2, in particular in June? And as China's manufacture upgrades, will it affect China's foreign trade with Southeast Asian countries?
Thank you for your question. Last month, on Langfang International Economic and Trade Fair, we introduced our cross-border e-commerce performance and reported relevant statistics. According to the preliminary statistics, in H1, cross-border e-commerce continued to unleash its advantages and potential. The trade totaled 1.1 trillion yuan, up by 16% year-on-year. The export was 821 billion yuan, up by 19.9%. Import was 276 billion yuan, up by 5.7%, which kept a good momentum, helped to stabilize the scale and optimize the structure of our foreign trade. I want to clarify that different from traditional trading goods, at present, there is no internationally accepted statistical rule for cross-border e-commerce. China is one of the earliest countries to conduct this kind of practice and continue to improve relevant systems and methods. According to the latest cross-border e-commerce statistical survey system, our cross-border e-commerce service includes semi-annual and annual reports. About your second question, about the trade performance with the ASEAN. ASEAN is China's largest trading partner. In H1, China's trade with ASEAN totaled 3.08 trillion yuan, up by 5.4% year-on-year, accounting for 15.3% of the total value, up by 0.5 percentage points compared with the previous year. There were three highlights. First, the bilateral cooperation was closer. Since this year, China's economic and trade cooperation with ASEAN has accelerated. In April and June, the second and third round of negotiation of China-ASEAN FTC 3.0 were held in Thailand and China respectively. On June 2nd, RCEP took effect in the Philippines, marking the full entry into force of RCEP in 15 signing countries, injecting strong impetus into regional economic integration, including ASEAN. In H1, the share of trade with ASEAN in total value of trade with other RCEP members increased to 50.5%. Second, cross-border channels played a bigger role. In H1, the sea rail intermodal train of the new Western Land Sea Corridor transported a total of 424,000 TEUs of goods, up by 10.5%. Trading goods by China Lost Railway totaled 2.15 million tons, up by 194.4%. which led to rapid growth of trade with ASEAN in the region. In H1, the number was about 438.7 billion yuan, up by 21.4%. Third, China imported an increasing number of agricultural products from ASEAN. Agricultural cooperation is an important field. In H1, the imports of agricultural products from ASEAN totaled about 125 billion yuan, up by 7.5%, 6.4 percentage points higher than the overall growth rate of imports from ASEAN. Imports of fruits totaled 40.54 billion yuan, up by 24.1%. Fresh durians and pineapples respectively increased by 65% and 24.1%. Imports of palm oil totaled 10.91 billion yuan, up by 120.5%. China and ASEAN are each other's biggest trading partner. We have solid cooperation foundation and huge development potential. The bilateral trade is expected to maintain a sound momentum. Thank you. Next question.
Phoenix TV. We noticed that the data released by GACC always has some discrepancy with the index and economic indicators of other countries. For example, the China's export delivery value, the international balance of payment. So what is your comment? Thank you. Thank you for your question. Customs statistics is the official statistics of China's foreign trading goods. As always, this work has been done in strict accordance with China's customs law, statistics law, regulation on customs statistics, and other relevant laws and regulations, and also follows the international statistics standard. It is based on China's clearance administrative record, and it is a faithful, objective, and comprehensive record of China's foreign trade activity. So it is in strict accordance with laws and regulations and international standards, and also based on real administrative record. So putting together, the two determined that China's customs data statistics has sound legal basis and a reliable institutional guarantee. And we have taken note of your question. Indeed, there are some speculations on the discrepancy of data. That's only because different countries have different ways of surveying. For example, like two major indicators, export delivery value and export value, despite the fact that the two have export in their definitions, but they are different in essence. The export delivery value, like the former one, the two have different statistical objects. The first one focuses on the export value of large companies, or the product value that they declare to the foreign trade departments, while the latter one focuses on the real export value of all companies. And they also have different timings. The first one was surveyed when the goods are sold, while the latter one surveyed when they're declared at the customs. In the long term, the two indicators are similar in trend, but in some specific month, there may be some discrepancies. It's natural. Another example, the trading goods in the international payments, balance of payments, and the trading goods and customs. The two are major market economic indicators reflecting the progress of foreign trade, but they have different statistical standards. The former one is adopts the IMF standard, while the latter one adopts the UN trading goods standard. They also have different statistical scope. The former one focuses on the ownership of goods, on the transfer of ownership of goods between resident and non-resident, while the latter one focuses on the cross-border movement of trade. Like a cell phone, if it is assembled and sold to domestic market, the former one surveys the overall value of the cell phone, while the latter one focuses on the value of the imported parts. The data discrepancy is an important topic for international customs cooperation. Most of the countries and regions adopts the UN standards, so the import will be surveyed with the country of origin, while the export surveyed with the final destination. But if there's a transit trade, then different countries have different standards, so there are data discrepancies. And this is the main reason for the difference. Also, there are some price difference. Like the export is measured with offshore price and import is measured in CIF. And there are some differences in the international freight and premium cost. Also, not to mention the forex fluctuation and the different timing of collecting data. But formulating and publishing data is a legal responsibility for the customs, and will continue to ensure the reliability and international comparability of our data to give our users better service of information. Thank you. Next question, please.
谢谢主持人海报新闻记者提问。近年来，我国朋友圈不断扩大，市场多元化进一步拓展。
Recently, China has more diverse market partners. Can you tell us more details and what are the work done by the customs? Thank you. Thank you for question.
是我国外贸
To
稳定发
make
展
the
的一个内在
trade
要求，
market more diverse
实际上也是一个
is
鲜
an
明的特点。
important work and
近年来，
distinctive character of China's foreign trade development. In recent years, the foreign trade companies have taken the initiative to respond to the changes in the international market and explore new ways to stabilize their trade exchange with developed economies and at the same time further
贸易
develop
市场的多元化呢，取得了
developing country markets and regional
正如
markets
刚才
like
所说，外
ASEAN.
贸的朋友圈也是在不断的扩大。
Positive progress has been made, and the friend
比如啊，
circle
随着
of
我
foreign
国
trade has
东
been
盟经贸合
expanded,
作的不断深入，
like our trade with ASEAN.
2020年起，东盟
Since
连续3年保
2020,
持我国最大的
ASEAN
贸易
has
伙伴
remained
地位。
China's largest trading partner for
那么
3 years
我国对拉美的
consecutively,
贸易规模
and
在
China's trade with
2022
Latin
年
America
突破了3万亿
exceeded
元，
3 trillion
对拉
yuan in
美进口连
2022
续6年
and maintained
保持
positive
正增长。
growth in foreign trade
还
with
有
Latin
最近
America
这个
for
中亚
6
五
years
国
consecutively.
也是成为我国对外贸易新的增
Recently,
长点。
5
去
Central
年
Asian
对中
countries
亚五国
have
进出口
become a
增速
new
高
area
于
of
同期的
growth in
整体
China's
进出口
foreign
增速
trade.
38个百分点。
Last year, our trade
不久
with
前呢，我们
5
在
Central Asian countries, C5
中
countries,
非
faster
这个经贸
grew
博览会上
faster
发
than
布了中国非洲的贸易指数。
the
那么
overall
该指数从2000年
foreign
的基
trade
值100
level.
点，已经攀升到了
We also first time published the
2022
China-Africa Trade
点。
Index. This index
也
grew
是综
from
合反映了
100
中
points
国和非洲贸
as
易
the base point
快
in
速发展的
2000
成就。
to 990.55 points in
今年以来，我
2022.
国各层级的这种面对面的外事交流也全面恢复。
So China's trade with Africa has also grown
为多边
rapidly.
多双边的经
Recent,
贸关系发展，
since
拓
the
展
beginning
全
of
方位的
this
经
year,
贸
as the
合作，
face-to-face
促进贸易市场多元
diplomacy
化，营
resumed,
造了更加良好的氛围。
China's foreign trade has enjoyed a more
拉美、非
enabling
洲、中亚五国的
environment
进口规模
for
同比
further
分别增长
expansion.
5.4%。
In H1, China's trade with
10.5%
ASEAN, Latin America, Africa, and C5 countries grew
均高于同
respectively
期整体的进出口
by
增速。
5.4%, 7%, 10.5%, and 35.6%, all above the overall foreign trade growth level.
全力服务国家
During
外交
this
和经贸
process,
大
the
局。
customs has
取得了一系列
actively
积极
fulfilled
成
our
果。
role to serve
比如
the
这个中国中亚峰会
overall picture of national development, like the China C5 summit.
推动成立了中国
7
中亚
outcome
国家
documents
首长的会晤机制，
were signed,
在习近平主
and
席
the
与中亚五国
meeting
元首见
mechanism
面
of
30
the
年
heads of the heads of customs of China C5 countries was established.
国别文件的一个
10 outcome documents were signed,
刚才也提到，在
covering
第
all
3届
countries.
经贸博览会的框架下，我们还举办了
And under the framework of the third China-Africa Economic and Trade
发
Expo,
布了中非
we convened the China-Africa SPS Forum, released the China-Africa SPS Forum joint statement, initiated the website of China-Africa SPS Cooperation, and signed the protocol of
积极回应
agricultural and food products with Zimbabwe and Madagascar. After the establishment of diplomatic ties with Honduras,
主席以洪都拉斯
China,
总统的
in particular the GACC,
红方签订了养殖水产品
participated in the cooperation, and witnessed by President Xi and President Castro,
议定书，以及
our two countries signed 3 protocols
方面的
on
2个备忘录。
aquaculture products, unbaked coffee bean and banana,
那么下一步呢，
and
中
2
海关将继续
MOUs
加强与
on
各国海关检业部门的沟通协调
food,
围绕
flora and
技术
fauna
贸易变化水平
inspection and quarantine,
优化关
and
系环境等
food
深化
inspection and
合作，
quarantine.
不断畅通
Looking ahead, we'll continue to work with other counterpart departments
提供
internationally to further improve and facilitate international foreign trade, and to further smoothen the international industrial chains and provide stronger impetus
这边这个
for China's efforts to diversify international markets.
谢谢
Next
主持
question,
人。南方
please.
都市报恩视频记者提问：
Southern
请问
Monopolist
今年上半年
Daily.
我国与“一带一路”沿线国家的贸易
I want to
情况如
know
何？
what is
那
the
您是
trade
如何看
performance
待
of
这个未
China
来的
with Belt and
我
Road
这个
countries in the first half of the
一
year?
带一路贸易的展望呢？
And how
那
do
近
you
期海关在推进“一带一路”贸易方面又做了哪些
see
工作
the
呢？
future growth of China's trade with Belt and Road countries? Thank you.
因为下半年的第3届“一带一路”
Thank you for your question. This third Belt and Road Forum will be held in the later half of this year,
一带一路相关
and
的话题
everyone is concerned about the Belt and Road related topics.
我国与
Since the
一带一路
past
沿线国家的
decade, since the Belt and Road Initiative was
由
proposed,
2013年的 6.46 万
our
亿
trade
元
with Belt and Road
增长到
countries grew
2022年
from 6.46 trillion yuan in 2013 to 1.37 trillion billion, 13.76 trillion yuan to 2022, and 1.1 times of increase. And this year, this rapid growth was maintained, and in H1, the foreign trade was 6.89 trillion yuan, an increase of 9.8% year-on-year, faster, 7.7 percentage point faster than the overall foreign trade level. The industrial cooperation has been closer. In H1, the intermediate products, for example, car parts, lithium battery, and data processing equipment, grew by respectively 39.3%, 34.3%, and 28.9%. And the imported goods like energy products and agricultural products from Belt and Road countries grew by 5.7% and 17.9%. Second, interconnectivity has demonstrated a greater impact. In recent years, the China-EU freight train, the new Land Sea Corridor, and the China-Laos Railway have continued to leverage a significant impact to continue to strengthen the interconnectivity between China and Belt and Road countries. In H1, the railway foreign trade between China and Belt and Road countries grew by 23.8%, maintained double-digit growth for 12 months consecutively. Road foreign trade with Belt and Road countries grew by 63.6%. For the 5 months consecutively, this rate stayed above over 30%. Third, Mid-Eastern part of China registered a more impressive performance. In H1, the Mid-Western parts of China had 23.2% increase of foreign trade with Belt and Road countries, accounting for 21.2% of China's overall trade with Belt and Road countries. In particular, Guangxi, Xinjiang, and Inner Mongolia trade with Belt and Road countries all grew at above 50%. Fourth is our contracting cooperation with other countries. For a long time, we have been advancing our cooperation with Belt and Road countries in terms of international trade. We have been advancing the import of premium agricultural products and signed 44 cooperative documents with Belt and Road countries, in which 30 are about agricultural and food products. Second, we continue to facilitate trade with other countries. We have signed the MOU on single window cooperation with Iranian customs and signed AEO mutual recognition arrangement cooperation documents with Philippines, Costa Rica, and Uzbekistan. We have also taken an active part under the Belt and Road Forum framework and will continue to work as we commit to do. Thank you. Next question, please. The paper. This year, the Central Commission on Deepening Reform held the meeting and pointed out that supporting the private sector is a commitment made by the CPC Central Committee. So what are the highlights of private sector in foreign trade in the first half of this year? Thank you. The private sector has been an irreplaceable force in China's economic development and social stability. It contributes over 50% of tax revenue, over 60% of GDP, over 70% of China's innovation, over 80% of China's urban jobs, and 90% of the total number of companies. And in 2022, private sector accounts for over half of China's total foreign trade. And in H1, this share rose to 52.7%. Private sector remains the major driving force of foreign trade, and it has the following highlights. First, the number and scale of companies stabilized and increased, playing a more dominant role in China's foreign trade. In H1, companies involved in foreign trade increased by 8.3%, reached 459,000.
民营企业已成为外贸的
Private sector
稳
has
定器，
become a stabilizer in
上半年
foreign
进
trade.
口
In
10.59万
H1,
元，增长
it
8.9%，
contributed
拉动我国外贸进
10.59
口
trillion yuan,
4.4个百分点。
an increase of
在
8.9%,
31个省区市中，有
and
25个省区市的民营企
contributed
业进
to
口
a
是
4.4 percentage point growth in China's foreign trade growth
二是
overall.
创新发展成效显著，高
And
质量
of
出口
31
贡献突出。
local government units of China,
上半年
25 private sector of 25 maintained growth
增长
in
5.4%，
their
占
import
我
and
国
export.
同类产品出口的
Second,
比重
contributed
提升
greater
5.7
to
个百分点，
innovation.
达到
In H1,
4.7%。
the private sector exported
民营企
high-tech
业
products
也是拉动
worth
我
of
国新三样产品
1.24
出口
trillion
增长
yuan,
的
an increase of
主力，
5.4%.
共出口
At the same time,
3463亿元，
they are also
增长
the major driving
64.6%，
force in exporting
对同类产
the
品出口增长的贡献力
EVs,
高达
solar cells,
66.8%。
and lithium batteries,
此外，民营企业
contributing
自主品牌出口
to
1.6万亿元，增长
66.8%
自
to
主品
the
牌的占有率
overall
提升了
growth
0.4
of
个百分
the
点，
three products.
达到 22.6%。 三是民生和资
Third,
源类产品进口快
they
速增长，
import
保护
more
稳价的作用
resource products and livelihood products
上半年
to help stabilize
民营企业
price and
农
supply.
产品进口值增长
In H1, the
20.9%，
import of
高出我国
agricultural
同
products of
类
private
产品
sector
的进口
increased
增
by
速是 5.7%，
5.7 percentage
肉类
point
进口
higher
值分别增长
than the overall level,
24.2% 和
among which
13.1%。
the import value of food and meat increased by 24.2% and 13.1%,
药品的进口值增长了
and the import value
24.8%，
of
高出同类
medicines
产品进口增
and
速
medical
4.2个百分点。
material
此外呢，
increased
金属
by
矿砂和煤炭进口量
24.8%,
分别增长
4.2
33.9%
percentage point higher
和
than the overall
1.48%，
level,
分别高出同类产
and
品
the import
进口增速
of
25.6个
raw metal and coal increased by 33.9% and 148.8%,
结构
respectively 25.6 percentage point
都为我国的
percentage point higher and 55.8 percentage point higher than the overall national level.
党的20大精神
I will continue
总书记关于民
to
营经济发
follow
展
through
的重要论
on
述，
the important instructions made by General Secretary Xi Jinping on developing the private
抓
sector
好优化营商环境
to
16条举
encourage
措的落地见效，
support the development of the private
惠企
sector,
纾困，持续
centered around the 16 detailed measures to improve business environment will continue to help the private sector to overcome difficulties and energize the development of the whole private sector.
第三排这位。
The last question.
谢谢主持人，我是红星新闻记者。
The rest are
问题
news.
是，请介绍一下上半年我国对 RCEP 其他成员
Can you tell
国
us
进出口
the
的
trade
情况
between China
您
and
对未来
other
我国
members
和
of
RCEP
RCEP
其他
in
成员国的
H1?
贸易有何展望？近期海关在推进
What are your
RCEP
views
实施方
on the
面做
future
哪些
growth?
工作？谢谢。
And what are the work done by the GACC on the implementation of
全
RCEP?
面经济伙伴关系协定
Thank you for your
的
question.
全部生效，
RCEP,
是亚太区域经济
the
计
full
划
entry
进
into
步的
force of
一个
RCEP
重要里程碑。
is an important
上半年
landmark of
我国
the
对
Asia-Pacific regional
RCEP 其他
integration.
14个成员合计
In the first 6
进口
months,
6.1万亿元，
the trade
同比增长
between China and RCEP
1.5%，
reached 6.1 trillion yuan, an increase of 1.5%, and contributing to over 20% of China's growth of
大部
foreign
分成
trade.
员的进出口实现了正增
China's
长
trade with majority
其中呢
of
对
RCEP
新加坡
members
老挝、澳大利亚、
registered
缅甸
positive growth.
分别增长了
The trade
27%、
with Singapore grew by 27%, with Laos grew by 25.8%, with Australia grew by 16.4%, with Myanmar
持续为我
grew
国广大企业带来
up by
实实在在的
15.2%.
红利和实
So
惠。
RCEP has brought China
主要体现
real
在两个方
benefit
面，
to the people and to
一
the
方面
company.
呢是区域产业链合作更加紧
First,
密，
the regional industrial chain
RCEP
has
市场
become
潜力
closer.
逐渐释放，将有力地促进区域内
As
生
the
态要
market
素的
potential of
自由流动，
RCEP
逐
gradually
步形成更加繁荣的
releases,
区域一体化
it
的
will
大市场，
further boost
为
the
企业
free
拓展
flow
国际
of
产业合
production
作、
factor
经
within
贸
the
交流
region
开辟新空间。
and provide
上半
new
年，
new
我国
space
对 RCEP
for
其他成
international
员
industrial
出口中间
cooperation
产
and
品
economic and trade
1.72
exchanges
万亿
and help to facilitate a
占
more
我国
prosperous
对
regional
RCEP
integrated
其他
market.
成员出口值的一半以上。
China's export of intermediate product to other RCEP
汽
members
车零配件类、
reached
电工器材类
1.72
分别
trillion
增长
yuan.
17.6%和22.4%。
accounting for China's overall export to RCEP members, accounting for 54.4% of China's overall export to other RCEP members, in which car parts and electrical appliances increased by 17.6% and 22.4% respectively. And China's import of iron ore and energy products increased by 4.7% and 70.4% from other RCEP members. Second, the preferential policy continues to release positive impact. In H1, the value of imported goods enjoying preferential policy was worth over 40.3 billion yuan, and the tax reduction reached 1.07 billion yuan. And the major imported products enjoying preferential policy were plastic and plastic products, mechanical equipment, and mechanical parts. And for export, the number was 127 billion yuan, enjoying tax reduction of 1.91 billion yuan. And major exported products were apparels, non-organic chemical products, and plastics. And now, across China, 590 verified importers have given 4,844 statements of RCEP country of origin, worth 4.34 billion yuan. And the GACC will continue to follow through on the important instructions given by the CPC Central Committee and the State Council on RCEP implementation, and to further facilitate the opening up and cooperation among member states. First, we'll improve laws and regulations to upgrade our system to facilitate the customs procedures, and to streamline administration to improve the efficiency to reduce the cost of clearance of companies. Second, in our external cooperation with RCEP members, we'll closely follow the policies of other RCEP members and help companies coordinate and overcome their difficulties in and out of China. Third, we'll increase the coverage of RCEP policies and laws regulations to help companies build up their awareness and to help better expand their market within RCEP. Thank you very much, and that concludes today's press conference. Thank you for your participation. That's all. Thank you.